Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our session. So you are here for the Using Just2easy to Support Literacy in the Early Years and Key Stage 1 webinar. So my name is Nikki Kimball. I'm part of the education team here at Just2easy. I'm one of the educational consultants. So let's do a bit of session housekeeping as we always do. So I have planned a 60-minute session. I will stick to that. I won't go any more than 60 minutes, I promise. Questions, as always, can be asked via the chat function. So we've double checked that it is working, and I do have that open on my second screen. So please feel free as we go through the session to ask any questions that you might have. Alternatively, I will be doing a Q&A session at the end of the training, as always. So you can put me on the spot and ask me any questions that you might have about Just2easy. The session is being recorded and it will be made accessible via YouTube. So on our YouTube channel, which I will give you details for, and that should be on later on tonight. So if you wanted to refer back to this session, or if you wanted to share it with a colleague, if you find it particularly useful, then you can access that through our YouTube channel. Right, in terms of what we're going to cover in today's session, we're going to have a quick think about why we should use digital tools to support literacy skills. And as part of that, I am going to just show you a little bit of research that I've been reading into. And also I'm going to link in the curriculum areas where digital fits into the English or literacy curriculum areas. Then we're really going to have a think about which Just2easy tools you can use to support literacy in your classrooms. So as part of that, I am going to do a big showcase on the resource library activities. So I've harvested the best ones. I've also added some updates in terms of brand new resources that we've just released in the last few weeks. We're going to look at setting your own spellings using Spell Blast, which is one of our games-based learning tools. And I'm going to show you some content creation activities that you might want to try with your classes. So as part of that, we're going to look at JIT Write and Paint. I'm going to show you how to create word lists in J2 Create, because we have those accessibility tools built in. So things like text to speech, speech to text, and word lists that have text to speech built into them. So you can create word lists in J2 Create, and those will be accessible in JIT as well. I'm also going to show you how to make interactive worksheets in J2 PDF, and then a Q&A session at the end. So very, very busy session today, as always. So just a quick overview of how you can access Just2easy. We are a cloud-based learning platform that is accessible via any device, anywhere, as long as you have a subscription, of course. So this is our website for logging in, j2e.com. Okay, and this will be the login page that you are met with. I've just realised I haven't updated this image actually. So I know there's going to be a lot of you joining us from Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland. My brain is not working. So you can click on any of these icons. So the EA icon, that is for my C2K colleagues out there. You can click there and you can use your C2K credentials to log in. My Welsh colleagues out there, you can use the Hub button and use your Hub credentials to log in. And this has been updated, this RM Unify button has been updated for my Scottish colleagues out there. So anybody joining us from Glow, you can click on this button and use your Glow credentials to log in. Now, all three of those managed services, or in fact, all the managed services, including LGFL, BGFL, can log in via your own launchpads. So for example, C2K, you can find Just2easy in the My School area. Hub and Glow, you'll find it on your launchpads. So hopefully that is clear about how you can log in, because that's a very important aspect of getting onto the site. Now, just to be aware, we do offer pupil QR code logins to get your students logged in. I'm not going to show you how to do that today. There is a YouTube video on how you can generate those QR codes and use them with your students. So the benefit of doing that is the students have their own QR code login. They scan that and it logs them straight in. No need for a username, no need for a password, which means you can get straight into the learning. And you're not spending that good sort of 10, 15 minutes making sure your students are logged in, trying to remember various passwords. Okay, so just be aware that that is a function that we offer, unfortunately not to Wales. Right, why we should use literacy in the digital age. So these are just a couple of research papers as I was looking at. Now these are more specific to writing, but I thought there's some interesting quotes in these. So modern day literacy is evolving beyond printed text towards multiple literacy, and it involves students using a variety of different media resources in their interactive form, which also includes a target audience outside the classroom. So I thought this was interesting because there is this push now for students to have an audience for their writing, and to make that audience as broad as possible. So, you know, if students are writing in their book, really there is only one audience, and that is you and them being able to read that book, and possibly a parent if they see that during parents' evening, and that is the sort of constraints of writing in a book. Whereas if you write something on a digital format, so for example, if you wrote it in Just2easy, we do offer a parent portal. You can generate QR codes to pieces of work, so you can have that and share that, and it just broadens that audience beyond the classroom walls. And then this quote, for students to be literate nowadays, they should be able to read hypertext, use multimedia components and the internet effectively for accessing information and structuring meaning, join various online communities and use various media resources outside of the classroom. So really in the last sort of 20 years, this being able to read things and to grab meaning and understanding is not just constrained to books now. So we use the internet an awful lot as an adult, be able to look at pictures and videos and to gain meaning from various different media types. So literacy really has evolved massively. And I do have links to both those papers if you're desperate to read them. So why should we use digital tools to develop literacy? Digital tools can provide an individualised environment with personalised levels of support and scaffolding, which we are going to look at today. So things like word lists that you can share with individual students, with smaller groups, and putting those levels of support in for children that need it. Students write best when writing for a purpose or authentic audience. And I think that is a really valid point. Okay, the more people that read their work, the better they're going to start writing if they think someone's going to read it. You are able to incorporate a range of different modalities, so audio, visual, and provide those for children to be able to demonstrate their learning and understanding, not just through writing, but you know, things like recording an audio, reading out their story, reading things, using pictures, that kind of thing. The use of technology helps to reduce inequalities and promote inclusion. And then technology integration can influence literacy pedagogy to become more student-centred. So focus moves away from the teacher and promotes independence. So I'm going to show you things like text-to-speech, speech-to-text, where really it moves the emphasis away from the teacher as a structure of support and promotes that independent learning. Okay. Now I have pinpointed specific parts of the curriculum that sort of show that we should be using digital formats, especially in literacy. So I've got the Northern Irish curriculum here. So participate in model, shared, guided and independent writing, including composing on screen. And this one, organise, structure and present ideas and information using traditional and digital means. So it is really quite clear in the Northern Irish curriculum that you should be doing this, and you should be doing this from Key Stage 1. Then Wales, we've got these, so I can create, edit, organise multimedia components, text, image, sound, animation, video in selected software as appropriate, to include text, images and presentations. So that's quite clear as well. England, not so much. Unfortunately, it's just the computing curriculum doesn't feature in the English curriculum at all, but that would be where that would fit. So just be mindful that these are in the writing or the sort of digital content creation curriculum. Right. Before we get started, I'm going to show you our YouTube channel, just so that you're aware of it. It is Just2easy TV. That is where you're going to find all of our webinars. Now I have a link off my Launchpad. Here we go. So Just2easy space TV. There is another one that was we can't delete for some reason, and it's about 15 years old. It's not that one. This one has 203 videos on it. And you can see here the webinars 24, 25. This is where you'll find this webinar and more. There's also live lesson recordings. For some of the activities that we're going to do today, you will find I can teach your class for you in these live lessons. So there are some that are suitable for Key Stage 1 students. And we've also got some tips and tricks. So there you go, QR code logins, should you need a little bit of information on that. So that is our YouTube channel. Right, enough of me talking at you. Let's have a look at some of the activities. So I thought I'd mix things up today. Normally I sort of show the content creation, but I thought I would show you the library first, or a few bits around the library. And these really are quite early years specific, really. So the library, if you're not aware of it, is a resource library where we have over 2,500 resources in there now, adding to it all the time. And you can share these with your students. So we do have some handwriting activities, and I've added this one because this one seems to be incredibly popular now. Now, you can find the library off your Launchpad. It's this lovely pink tile. I think it gets missed sometimes. It's right here. Okay. And there are a variety of different resources. Now, this one is scratch art. I remember this. I'm an 80s baby. I remember this with a little sort of metal pen, and you can scratch it out. It's got lovely rainbow colours behind it. So just to give you an idea, this would be very nice maybe on a board, or to load it on an iPad for the students. You could combine it with a stylus. I think I bought a class set of stylus. I don't know what the plural, but styli for my class, and that was really helpful actually, because it helped them with the pincer grip, and they could use the stylus on the screen. I'm sure you could pick them up from Temu for about £1 each. And the idea with this is that they use the eraser and they can adjust the pen. So this is in Jit Paint, and they can scratch out words. Okay, and it is actually easier if you're using a touchscreen device than it is using a mouse, because obviously you would just use that on the screen. You could use it with a finger, obviously. So that's an example of some of the activities we have in the resource library. Okay, so the library is here. You can search according to keyword. So if you've got a topic going on, you can search according to age. We have just introduced the 3 to 4 age group, so we are building that element. You can search for multiple age ranges, and you can search for subject. So here we go. We've got some examples here. If you find a resource that you like, you can click on it. Okay, and you can set that as homework. Let me find one that I haven't made. Here we go. If you like it, you can star it. So this little star here, that means it will go into your liked resources. Now, students will have access to this unless you share. Okay, so you have to share an activity with either an individual student or a class. So you can see that I've shared that with class 1, and now they will have access to that through the library tool tile. So they can click on that and they will find this particular resource to engage with. Okay, so there are lots and lots of resources. So you can see here we've got some sort of early handwriting skills and some letter formation activities, and these work in a very similar way to the one that we've just looked at, except they would choose a pen, and then they can track over the top. And there we go, and then they can start writing their S. Much easier with a touchscreen than it is with a mouse, so just be aware. Okay. So those are our fine motor skills or handwriting. And I've also got some planning for writing activities. So mind mapping, I thought that was a bit of Key Stage 1, maybe, might be quite a nice activity. First, next, then, finally. So sequencing things, and things like this one's got descriptive writing, and they can add into the boxes and plan out their writing. So those are just some examples of activities we have. I've just seen that someone has the sound not working. Yes, I will send a link to the recording later on. Okay, so let's have a look at some content creation, shall we? So JIT is a fantastic starting point for our younger learners. It is the Just2easy infant toolkit, and we're going to focus on paint and write. Now you're probably wondering, why am I going to focus on paint when we're doing English? Now what I like about paint is it does have the option to add speech bubbles, and you can add small bits of text in. So this is just an activity. I've linked it into a rainforest fact sheet, so the children can create their own and add in their own speech bubbles. So you can choose a background in Paint. You can edit the background using fill and texture tools. You can add in clip art, characters, speech bubbles, text, and you can add audio as well. So I'm going to do a very quick JIT Paint. And this is just an example of what you could create. So you can see here I've added in some speech bubbles. So Paint opens up like this. It will open up in a very similar way to Write, which we're going to look at shortly. And we've got lots and lots of backgrounds here. Okay, so I am going to add in, let's stick with the jungle actually. Okay, so you will have some clip art. The children can draw over the top, so they can change the color of things. They can use the fill tool and change things. Okay, so they can spend some time. They can then also add in some characters. I haven't pre-prepared any facts, which was a bit silly of me. So there we go. So I'm going to click on my Jaguar and I'm going to add him in there. Okay, so they can do all of that. Then if I click on this word rainforest, these are the two that I really wanted to highlight. We've got speech bubbles and text, and they both work in a similar way. So if I click on this text here, I've only got 3 fonts to choose from. So I'm going to choose this one because it's most like handwriting. I can make this text bigger or smaller. Okay, and then this ABC button underneath, I can delete that out and I can just add some text. It would help if I could spell it properly. There we go. Now I can change the color of that. Okay, I can click on it and I can layer that. In fact, that looks awful. Here we go. Let me spell that right. There we go. That's still not right. Yes, it is. Okay, rainforests. Doesn't look right. So I'm going to click there and that's going to layer that onto my page. Now I'm going to do the same with a speech bubble. So I'm going to add a fact into a speech bubble. I've got various speech bubbles that I can choose from. So there are some nice comic book style and some coloured ones. In fact, let's go for a nice coloured one so it pops out of the page. And again, I've got my text box underneath. So I'm going to say Jaguars live in trees. Well, actually, I'm going to say sleep in trees, and there we go. And I'm going to add that onto my page. I can make that smaller, and there we go. Okay, now lastly in JIT Paint, and I really like this aspect, you've got the record audio function at the top. So it could be that they've created their own picture, create their own storyline, and they can record their own story in audio format. So it's a very simple record function. They just click on the record and click stop. So let's just have a go. Rainforests by Miss Kimball. And then we can click OK, and that's going to save that bit of audio there. Okay, now the children, to save anything in JIT, they click on the little orange floppy disk. This thing I like, they get a little savey circle that spins around. And there we go. And it grays out as well. So they can only save 1 copy unless they make further changes, and they can save again. So that will save into their My file. So you as a teacher can always access that in the pupil files area. Okay, so that is just an example of what you could do. This is another example. So this is creating a hook for writing. So this is more as a inspiration, or you could create this for the students to then combine in another tool. Okay, so this is an example of the aliens landing in school. So we've taken a photograph out of the window of our class playground. I've added this police line. So this is just clip art that we can search for. I've added a UFO and a little alien. And then I can add this into J2 Create or JIT Mix and have the children add some writing. So it's inspired them to create a story that goes alongside this particular image. So just to show you how that was done very quickly, we click the star. Okay, and this time I'm going to go to pictures, so you can add in any picture. You can take a photograph straight in, so you've got the photo option there, or you can use this globe button here. So I could add in playground, for example. So I'm going to add this as a background. There we go. So that's my class playground. And then I do have some animals or fairy tales, and there's some aliens as well. So let's add in an alien onto our class playground. There we go. I'm going to make him a little bit smaller and add him there. And then I click save. And that's going to save into my mind files. Now I can share that with the students. I can use that in JIT, in J2 Create. If you want to use it in another tool like J2 Create or JIT Mix, you do need to click this Save as Image button here, and that will allow you to then add it into another tool. Okay, so that's just an example of something that you could create as a teaching resource. Right, we're going to move to JIT Write now. This really will be my go-to if I was working Key Stage 1 for any sort of writing project. It really allows you to add in template backgrounds, which are very similar to the Paint ones. You can add text. There's word banks that are linked to the templates. You can change the font size and colour. There's text to speech and speech to text, and then the children can save and name their file. Okay, so let's have a look. So JIT. I'm going to open up JIT. Now JIT automatically opens up in Write. It is the first tool. Okay, and it opens up like this with our templates. There are a variety of templates to choose from. Okay, so we can scroll down. There's some seasonal ones as we get further down the page. So in fact, let's choose our Christmas background because it's coming. It's not far now. Now what's nice about this is, depending on which template you choose, it will have a word list that's associated. Now the word list is closed by default, but we can open it in a second. Now I'm going to just start typing. So there we go, my Christmas story. I can change the font size and colour, make it red. And there are 6 fonts to choose from, so the children can choose something that looks nice for their story. Once they've written something, they do have text to speech in the top right, so they can listen to what they've written. So again, that will help the children to become more independent when they are reviewing and editing their work, because they can listen back to it and see if it makes sense, if it sounds correct. They can use the word list. So down here, if I click on Christmas, that will open up my word list. So this is the Christmas one because I have the Christmas background. If it's the iceberg background, it would load with the polar regions. If it's the rainforests, it would load the rainforest. You get the idea. Now we can add our own word lists, which I'm going to show you later. That's done through J2 Create. But just to show you, we can hover over any of these words and we can click on this little speech bubble and it will say the word for me. Now, the only difference with a touchscreen, because I'm aware quite a few of your children are probably using touchscreen devices, to listen to the word, they click the word once, and to add it into their document, they click it twice. So that is the difference between a mouse-controlled device and a touchscreen device. So just be aware of that, because you will likely probably be showcasing on something with a mouse plugged in, whereas they'll be on a touchscreen. When they find a word that they want to use, they click on it, and that is going to add that into their document. Okay. Now, other word lists, they can use this little arrow here. I'm going to zoom in so you can see this little arrow up here. That will showcase all of the word lists that they have available. So these are the preset ones. Okay, so you can see we've got quite a few. You can create your own. So these will show here. Okay, so that is my word list that I've created. And if you've shared them with your students, they can access them through this little 3-person button. Okay, and they can access, so for example, all about me. I've got some nice, simple words there for them to use. You don't have to use just singular words. You can use sentence starters and sentences. So here we go. I like how you, I like the way, and that will type that into my document. So those are the word lists. And then, in fact, I'm going to delete this out. I'm going to use speech to text here on the left-hand side. So I'm going to click this. Children can dictate their work a sentence at a time. Okay, it's a very simple, just click on the microphone to begin recording. As I said, it's one sentence at a time. You can't record more than one sentence, but let's have a go. It was a cold and dark December morning. There we go. And I can click add text. Now that does have functionality to be used in other languages, including Irish or Gaelic. So that is in there. And then we can add text, and there we go. It has added that onto my page, and then I can use my text to speech to listen. There we go. And then they would click save, same as we did with Paint, little orange button there. Do you have the option to add audio recordings? So that's a great way of capturing maybe them reading aloud, maybe they've created their story and you want them to read it. You want that speech and language evidence, for example, so they could record audio as well. And we can click save, and that saves into the My Files area. Okay, so that is an example of what you could be doing at the moment. And then this is just a few examples of image-inspired writing. So this is another step up to what we've just done. So these are just examples of poetry creation using imagery for inspiration. So choose a photograph background, add text, and then you can change the font size and colour the same as we've just done, name, file and save. And that is another example, not so much poetry, but obviously this class are using the Gruffalo as their sort of focus text for that week. And they've looked at retelling their own version. And you can see there we've got some great language in there. So to do that, I'll open up this again. At this point, instead of using one of these template backgrounds, you can go to the Pictures tab, use that globe button that we used in Jit Paint. Okay, and this time, for example, maybe we're doing the Gruffalo, we can look for a forest background, and you could add that in as a picture. It might be that you're doing autumn, for example, or winter, and you can add in a background photograph. So that's another way of sort of progressing those skills, and they can layer the text over the top. So that's another idea for you. Okay. Right. We're going to move on to J2 Blast now. In particular, we're going to look at Spell Blast and setting your own spellings. Okay, so this is done here. So J2 Blast, if this is the first time you've seen J2 Blast, it is a collection of 3 specific focuses. So we've got spellings, times tables, which is your TT Blast, and then Sats Blast is maths skills in general. So things like fractions, number bonds, division, multiplication, all of it. So, and we have key stage specific versions of that, but we're going to look at Spell Blast. Now, this is a very noisy app, so just be aware when you're getting children to use this in class, you might want to invest in headphones or have them turn the volume down. There is a go live area. So we don't have much control over this, but the children will play this. They can click on this. It matches them against 3 other players around the world. Now, there's no communication that goes on between these students. It is just them playing on their own. Clearly, it's not very popular at the moment. It's that time after school. They're not quite back into games-based learning. And it will give them spellings that are specific to their level. So I played this a few times, so I'm on level 2 now. So it's going to give me some. Now, if I spell it incorrectly, it's going to give me a visual prompt, and then I can try again. So the children can either use the keypad or they can use this keypad that's on screen if they want to. It's a really personal preference. It takes a little bit longer to do it that way, personally. And there we go. So the students will get points for playing either the Go Live or the Have a Practice area. And they will get a class leaderboard, a school leaderboard, and there's a world leaderboard as well. And that will show placement over 7 days. Clearly my class is not playing it at the moment, and overall time. So that's the one version. Then we've got the Have a Practice area. So children can choose to have a go at a spelling list. So if you are going to set your own spelling list, they would find it in the shared area. Okay, and they can select that spelling list to have a go. So that's where the children will go to have a go at your spelling list. Now, to create your own spelling list, you're going to click on this ABC button here. Okay, and that is going to give me my spelling lists. And we're going to click on this plus button here. Now, I am doing a superheroes theme. And I do have my superheroes vocab already saved. So you can copy and paste into these spelling lists. Just be aware that these spelling, I think they will allow me to do multi word. I think we'll see. Let me add it in and see what happens. There we go. Okay, so you can copy and paste word lists into there. Then it hasn't. So I will have to have X-ray as a separate word. And then we can record audio. So we can click this recorded audio. It's going to pop up. It's going to prompt you with the word X-ray. And there we go. Now, if you are using recorded audio, you do need to go through each word. Okay, so vision. And there you go. And then when you're done, you click OK. And that is my superheroes word list for my students to practice. That could be a CVC word list, CVVC, high frequency, whatever it is that you want. Now, for my students to have a go at this, they need to click, you need to share it with them. So this little orange man here, well, orange person, I won't say it's a man, orange person, we're going to click there, and then we've got our share menu. Okay, so we can use this drop down menu. Now my class is listed here, so I can click my class. You can share with multiple classes, so it doesn't just have to be your class. You'll have teaching classes if you've set them up, individual users. If you want to set for just one user, you can. So I might just want to set that for Ellie. Or you've got the access to all classes, so you can find your class in that list there. Now, if you want to remove access at any point, you can just remove by clicking on that cross, and that child will no longer have access to that particular word list. So just to give you, should I set this up before I started? So Lottie is in my class. She knows. She would go to Blast, J2 Blast. She'd open up Spell Blast. She'd go to the Have a Practice area. And she go to the shared area, and there's that superheroes activity. So she can click on that. She can wait a little. And there we go. Okay, so that's how the children will have a go. Once they've started to have a go, you will collect some data. So I'm just going to click through. I should tidy this up really. Too many demo. Here we go. So we've got 8 children have had a go at this particular spelling list. And I can see which children have had a go. I can see their accuracy scores. I can see Lottie's 97%, she's not too bad. Pierre's working at 60, so he might need a little bit of focus support. I can see the word cloud here. The bigger the word, the more consistently that was misspelt by the whole class. So I know which words I need to maybe revisit. So dries, poor, babies, I might need to revisit with the whole class. But I can look at Pierre in particular, and that's going to show me the words that he's incorrectly spelled, and those are the ones that Lottie struggled with. So there we go. So we can get a lot more information about what's going on with the spelling list, how they're doing, and where we need to focus our support. So that is Spell Blast. So hopefully that will be helpful. There is a tips and tricks 2-minute video about how you can set spelling lists, so don't worry. Okay, now I'm going to show you how you can create your own word list in J2 Create, sticking with my superhero theme. So as I showed you in JIT Write, you can create and use your own spelling lists or word lists within JIT and J2 Create. And they do have to be created in J2 Create. So using the word list to create word lists or sentence starters in J2 Create, so you need to open a J2 Create file, open up the word lists, add in your words or your sentences, and then save and share with students. So very much the same process that we've just done with J2 Blast or Spell Blast. That's what we're going to do now. So I've got, this is a J2 Create activity. So this is a really nice tool. You can click anywhere and start typing. I've added in some boxes for my students to have a go. I've added in some pictures. But to add in a word list, you go up to this little W button here. Okay, and that opens up my word list options. So you can see I've got some word lists already, things like sentence support, e-safety. So these are things that I've created and shared with my students. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to press this plus button, or you can click the new button. They both do the same. So I'm going to click the plus, and I'm going to do the same as I did with my blast. I'm going to title my words and I'm going to paste in those words that I've just copied from that document. Okay, so I've got my X-ray vision, my courage, my bravery. I'm not sure why it's not letting me save. There we go. And then I click save. Let's go for superheroes 2. There we go. Now that's going to drop that at the bottom of that J2 Create activity. So if I want, I can use it in this particular resource. So I can click on any of these and it's going to type that out for me. So they can use it in J2 Create. But for my students to access that, that is just added into my account at the moment. If I click on that little blue eye at the corner there, and then I do that share function that we've just done. So the same as J2 Blast, use that drop down menu, share that with my class, or I could share with individual users, so share with Ellie again, or I could share it with class 2 as well. And they will have access to that, not only in J2 Create, but also in JIT. Okay, so if I just open up Lottie's account, she is here. If she opens up JIT, and in JIT right, let's go for blank. And if I use this little arrow here and I go to shared, so there's little 3 people, there is that superheroes activity word list. So she can click on this, on any of these words, and that is going to add that onto her document. Okay, so that is how we can create a word list for our students. Right, so that is creating word lists. Now, using existing worksheets in J2 PDF. So I'm sure you have hundreds of worksheets that you use on a regular basis, stored somewhere. And these are generally the things that you would print out first thing in the morning trip to the photocopier, if my memory serves me well. This might help you with that and not having to do that. So you can use existing worksheets in our tool called J2 PDF. Okay, so I'm going to open up J2 PDF and it looks like this. So you can either drag in a PDF from your hard drive, okay, and drag it onto this Dropbox here, or if you've already added it into your My Files, you can click Open PDF. And here we go, I'm going to open this Correct the Sentence PDF. Now that is going to stitch that sentence onto a J2 Create page. Okay, so the children can click anywhere on this page and they can start typing. So they can retype this particular sentence. I can add things like audio, I can add photos in, I can add a word list if I've created one. Okay, audio you can find up here, so we can record audio. Again, it's the same as the one we had in JIT. So you could, in fact, let's do it. I'm going to click record. Correct the sentence punctuation. Can you write the correct sentence underneath by adding in any capital letters, full stops and question marks that are needed? And there we go. So I can add that there so that they can listen to that instruction now. Okay, so that's J2 PDF. Then all you have to do is click the save button and we're going to have, I'm going to add a number 2 because I'm sure I've probably done that before. Well, clearly that was a multi-page document. So I think if I go to the next page, there we go. Yeah, so it's got an answer sheet as well. Then for my students to access this, I do need to share it. So I'm going to click on this little 2 people and again, use that drop down menu. And then my students have access to that by clicking on the class. Okay, so that is an activity that you could set and will help with the amount of printing that you have to get done. Okay, so have a think about doing that. That's great for things like SATs revision papers if you've got them. Just these worksheets, Twinkle worksheets work really well because some of them are fantastic. This is a nice simple writing simple reports fact sheet, so that works really well. Okay. J2 Create, now this is actually a resource in the library that's pre-made, so you can create your own text the children can then edit. And this is in the library, so the children can edit. So how many mistakes can you find? We've got this key here along the right hand side and sort of reminding them what they need to be doing. So capitalizing letters, adding full stops, adding commas, correcting spellings. So the children can write over the top what it should be with a capital, and then they can add in things like apostrophes if they need to, and they can correct spellings. They can add text over the top. I don't know why that's not working very. It's not locked, that's why. There we go. So that's something that you can do. You can create your own text and share it with your students for them to have a go. That would work with Write as well. So you can share things from Write from your My Files with your students for them to correct and improve the writing. Okay, so that is an option. Right, I am going to spend the rest of the session now really focusing on the resources that we have in our resource library. And I'm going to sort of talk through the process of how you would set that as a teacher, how the students would access it, how they'd have a go, how they'd save it, and how then you can access it as a teacher to mark it, because obviously that's a really important process. So starting with the phonics, we've got some fabulous phonics resources. We have an early years teacher who works on a consultant level, Mrs. Wilkes, who has created some really useful resources that are linked to letters and sounds. So starting right from phase 1 with your environmental sounds. So things like this activity. So this is initial sounds, matching game, SATP. Okay, and for this one, the children can click on the icon or the picture. That's pizza. So then they can drag that particular picture into the correct box. So they can click on the grapheme, listen to the phoneme, and then match the initial sound. So socks is a S. Okay, so they can have a go at that. So that's a fab resource that we have. So that's initial sounds. Let's close some of these tabs down. Here we go. That's better. Okay. We've got things like this where they can create their own words. So satpin, initial sounds. There is a printable version of this. Now these are all built in J2 Create, and the children can drag the letters to make their own words. Okay. So this, as I said, is built in a J2 Create. So the students can have a go at this pretty independently, you know, and they can drag these things here. But to save it, this is where it might need a little bit of support from an adult. They do need to click edit and then click this save button here. Now we are thinking about adding in a save button here somewhere. I'm going to keep nagging the development team. So hopefully that will appear where the children can just click that and that will save a copy. Okay, so that is there as well. Then we've got bigger sort of building words, building sentences activities, and again, building words. Some SPAG work. So we've got things like conjunctions. So that is in there. We've got, these are verb balloons. Oh, that link's broken. Verb balloons. This is one that we made recently. So this is draggable letters. So the children can drag the letters onto the board and start making their own words. Okay, so that again is in J2 Create. This is a nice activity. So autumn leaves. So looking at adding in different verbs. So it gives you an example here. So we've got different verbs added onto it. There is a background. So this is in JIT Paint. And the children can add their words into the text box here. There we go. And they can rotate the words and they can add it onto the picture and then click save. So that's a nice way of sort of incorporating some literacy, some ICT skills, as well as some art and design. And we've got a similar one with our World War II, if you're doing that as a particular topic. And then we've got apostrophe use, and they can add in the apostrophes. Okay, so they have to click edit and then they add in the apostrophe. Oh, no, they click view and they drag whether it's got the right apostrophe or the wrong apostrophe, and that is broken, so I need to fix that. Right, early years in particular, got a couple of sort of ideas that I thought were a little bit thinking out of the box. So this one is one that we've just done. I don't know why I haven't linked. So that is our nativity scene. So let's see if I can find that in the library. So I'm going to search for nativity. Here we go, draggable nativity scene. I'm going to set this for my student to have a go so we can see the workflow. So for my student to have a go, I'm going to set for my class, so class 1. So they now have access to that. So if I open up Lottie's account, so she's in my class 1, remember she goes to the library. There is that draggable nativity scene, and she can click on that. And she can drag these pictures and create her own scene. Okay, so I'm just going to do this very quickly. Add in Joseph, add in some sheep, add in some kings, and a donkey, obviously. So that is quite independently, the children can do that. This might need a little bit of support, but I think would be a really nice activity, is if they click edit, they could then go up to this record sound function and they could record some audio to explain their story or to tell the story. So, you know, they maybe want to write some notes down, or you might want to coach them first. They could say Mary and Joseph were in the barn, and then you've got that as a bit of speech and language example evidence. And then you could save that. So we're going to save that as a teacher, and I'm going to save. So that the student has had a go. They have saved it. So as a teacher, you can access the pupil content at all times. So that is done here through the pupil files area. I'm going to look in my class, and I know Lottie's had a go, so I could go into Lottie's account here. But this is a little neat trick. If I click this list files, that is going to show me the bits of content as they come up. So I can see Lottie's just created that, and I can click, I can see what she's created. If there was any associated audio, I could play it as well, and I can mark that. So that is how you always are able to access any student-made content at any time. Okay, and that goes for any resource that they've created, whether it's in the library or self-created anything. Now, this is something that we are trialing. I'm not sure. I'm going to leave it up and see if you've got any feedback. So this is a speech and language activity. So it's a paint activity where we've recorded some audio and the students need to follow the instructions. So this is a house building instructional video. So I just say things like, can you draw a house with 1 door, 4 windows and a chimney? So they need to listen to the instructions and draw the associated object. Okay, then we've got things like a character from my book where they can draw their characters, and this again is another sort of pre-writing activity where they can choose a pen and follow along the dot to dots. So nice for those pre-writing skills and to have that evidence captured. Okay, so that is there. We've got creative writing activities, so these are all sort of pre-made. We've got pictures, and then they can see the pictures and they can write underneath. This is quite a popular one. This is a witch's potion. So if you're doing anything to do with witches or, you know, creating things, this is made in J2 Create. The children can click anywhere and they can start adding in their spooky ingredients, the equipment that's needed, and how to make it, so their method. So that's a nice way of capturing some writing evidence that's a bit out of the norm. And we've got lots of these quick writes, so you can search. There's a whole bank of quick writes and they've got various different questions. So this is one that's linked to James and the Giant Peach. So if you could travel in any giant fruit, what would you choose and where would you go? And they just write in their answer underneath. So have a look for those. Then we've got various book reviews. So you can see here, this one's made in JIT write or paint, I think, and they can colour in the stars and add in the drawing of their favourite scene. So that's not really sort of just hooking on to literacy skills. They can then add in sort of drawings and that kind of thing. A quick write about your favourite Roald Dahl book. So great for Roald Dahl week. And this one's nice, design your own book cover. Okay, so really reflecting on books as a whole. Writing frames, we have loads of these. This is going to be really popular. Dear Santa, so this is a nice activity. and they can just click on the line and start writing their letter to Santa. And again, you can share that, the students open it, have a go, save it, and you've got that for evidence. We've got one about mom, so great for Mother's Day, 3 facts about you, and also that sequencing activities. So there we go. So that is my resource library showcase. So just last few bits, and then I'm going to answer the questions that are in the chat. So this is our email if you need it, edteam@j2e.com. We're also on social, so Just2easy and X. We also have a Facebook group for Just2easy Teachers, it's called, where we're sharing lots of content. So please feel free to apply to join for that. And that is our YouTube channel. So remember, all of our content is recorded and added onto our Just2easy YouTube channel. So I'm going to see if there's any questions now, so please feel free to add them in the chat. If not, then thank you ever so much for joining us, and I hope to see you for another session soon.